Well, hello there. Hi, everybody. I know it's been a while since I did a live stream in this group, and you're going to be seeing me a lot more in the next coming weeks because we are gearing up for yet another launch cycle and enrollment period of the Abundant Healer, 90 Days to Scale Your Practice Online. And so if you don't know me, my name is Brianna McWilliam, and I'm a creative arts therapist, author, educator, Reiki practitioner, and online entrepreneur. And so it's really my sole purpose to teach other therapists, coaches, and healers how to scale their businesses beyond the one-to-one business model, right? And really skyrocket their careers into the online stratosphere, as I like to call it. And so my signature program, the Abundant Healer 90 Days to Skyrocket Your Career, really teaches you how to create, launch, and scale online group coaching programs or establish some passive income funnels for you. And this is even if you have never made $1 online, created a single lesson, or have any concept of how to use social media or marketing or anything like that. And I teach you how to do it in record time. In fact, 90 days. So most of what I'm seeing in the responses from new members coming into the group really revolves around a couple of things. And that includes not making enough money, struggling to find consistent and high-paying clients, struggling with an overload of clients who pay with insurance or want a low sliding scale, not knowing how to market yourself or attract what I call soul clients. And soul clients are clients that are meant to find you so that together you can find a sense of spiritual ascension together, because ultimately, if you're drawn to this group, you're about human service in some way. Right? And it's my belief that soul clients are actually foils of ourselves that we call in. They're not just anyone who shows up at our door. And so, of course, every situation is different. Sometimes it's a little bit different for the therapist versus the healer versus the coach, but we're all in human service work, right? And we tend to experience some of the same frustrations. So, for example, does any of this sound familiar? Maybe you've had some success in small private practice, but referrals are few and far between. And consistent high-paying clients are even more scarce. Maybe all the time you hear, "Oh, I'd love to work with you, but can you give me a sliding scale?" I've heard of this one, particularly with coaches and healers. "This is amazing. Would you accept a trade for your services?" Or maybe you really like a sense of autonomy, but you know what? That autonomy has its price. And so sometimes you tend to feel kind of out of the loop or isolated, and you want to be part of a community, but you're not quite sure where you fit in. Or maybe it's hard to find good mentors, people who are financially successful and getting themselves out into the field that you want to be in and doing it well and owning their worth, right? Because scarcity attitudes are just rampant among therapists, coaches, and healers, whether they are really good at what they do or not. Somehow it doesn't always translate into a decent income, right? Or maybe you've had a ton of training, but something still feels like it's missing and you've hit this plateau in your practice. Or maybe you work for an agency that really undervalues your skills, and every day it's like an uphill climb dealing with this bureaucracy. And I feel like this is true of therapists, coaches, and healers, you often have to justify whatever you do as if it's, not real work, right? You're constantly explaining to people what you do, and you constantly have to justify that, yeah, it's worth you paying top dollar for it, right? Or sometimes maybe you're afraid to tell people what you do, because you have to go through that whole rigmarole, or you have to convince them that, no, it's really not woo-woo. It actually changes and transforms people's lives, right? In the meantime, the bills just keep piling up. So in my experience as a creative arts therapist and healer, there are 4 common woes that really just tend to suck our energy and enthusiasm as practitioners. And so for the purposes of today's video, I've assigned each of these woes a character type. So the first one is the magician. And so I want you to think about, how many times have you gone to work and instead of feeling like, this one's for all those therapists, instead of feeling like an effective therapist or even an effective coach, you start to feel like an entertainer. You're worried about what is the next trick that I'm going to have to pull out of my bag, right? And sometimes it's even a surprise to yourself what you managed to come up with. Or other times, I think this is also particularly for coaches and healers, clients tend to come to you for an immediate fix it now solution. How are you going to fix this and make it better so I don't have to feel this uncomfortable feeling? And of course, you're most likely in the position of telling them, your problem is you keep trying to escape uncomfortable feelings, right? You have to learn how to deal with that. And then they don't come back because you didn't give them the fix it solution that they wanted. Right? And so you have to be a magician. Somehow you're expected to make things, pull things out of your hat, right? And of course, that ends up leaving your energy drained, right? You start to feel inadequate, and maybe even it leads to feeling burned out. Then we have the second one, and I call this the paper pusher. So do you ever feel like what was supposed to be a job that was helping and healing people actually turned you into a sleep-deprived paper pusher? So you always seem to have one eye on the clock and you're just checking off boxes or filling out forms, and what precious time that you had to spend with clients really gets buried under, this is particularly true for the therapists, under audits or quality control regimes, progress notes, treatment plans, supply orders, invoices, receipts, sign-in sheets, right? Insurance claims, on and on and on. Or if you're in private practice and you're a coach and or a healer, maybe you struggle to promote yourself effectively and you tend to feel overwhelmed by bills, audits, progress notes, receipts, supply costs, newsletters, technology, and more. So it feels like it's nearly impossible to do the work that you were meant to do with so many seemingly unimportant administrative concerns that just end up eating up so much of your time by the end of the day. Now, the third one I think of as the squeaky wheel. This is one that I am personally very connected to from when I was working for other agencies in directorial positions. So maybe your client interactions are great, but the bureaucracy of the agencies or institutions that you might work for tend to overshadow any joy that you derive from them. Or if you're more of a freelancer, you're a coach or a healer, maybe it's impossible to find a decent, affordable workspace that accommodates all your necessary accoutrements and baubles. So your superiors or their superiors or whoever it is that's running the location that you're working out of, they don't respect your boundaries. They don't understand the value of what you do either. And so every little request tends to feel like it's an uphill climb and challenge, and that you are justifying your contribution to the whole. So you have to become this squeaky wheel, or your space gets commandeered as a storage closet, or your time slot is taken away or usurped by some opportunistic upstart, right? Now, the last one I call the lone wolf. This is another one I feel pretty connected to. Now, perhaps you are in private practice, but you tend to feel kind of isolated and stuck on how do I stay relevant or take my expertise to the next level. So like a lone wolf, you do derive pleasure and a purpose of a sense of purpose from being part of a pack or a community, right? But there's a unique nature to the work that you do. And sometimes that leaves you feeling a little bit like the black sheep or the odd man out in the communities that you belong to. And so if any of these sound familiar to you, I'd love to see a yes in the comments below, because I promise you that you are not alone. And if you put a yes down there, you're going to help someone else in this group feel a little less alone too. And because to my mind, each of these characters, and once again, that is the magician, the paper pusher, the squeaky wheel, or the lone wolf, to my mind, each of these characters are constrained by one common flaw. Okay, and that's whether you are working on your own or an institution or an agency, and that is that they all rely on a one-to-one business model. And a one-to-one business model is characterized by one thing, and that is serving one client at a time. Now, okay, maybe it's a handful of people in a small group or a bunch of people in a larger space, but still, your reach will always be constrained by three things, and that is space, time, and money. So there are three facts that I would like to share with you regarding these three constraints. And the first one is fact number one: space, it's great. Of course, one-to-one human contact is fabulous. And then we start comparing it to online, and we're like, oh, but it's not one-to-one. I'm sorry, you're comparing apples to oranges. What you are doing is you are seeing what is, and you are not seeing what could be. So if you can find a wonderful space, hey, more power to you. I have a wonderful space myself. I go to it once a week to keep me real. But space these days, guess what? It's not necessary. And actually, it can be a hindrance, especially when you compare it to the extent of your reach online. So if you're willing to consider working remotely, and I know based on some of the responses in this group, a lot of you are more than willing. You're kind of like, dude, tell me how I can start working remotely, right? This opens up tremendous possibilities for you, especially if money is an obstacle to obtaining space, right? We're going to get to money. But the second one I want to talk about is time, right? So fact number 2, time is a precious commodity. And in fact, it's more precious than money. And I'm going to say it again. Your time is more valuable than your money. Now, let that sink in for a minute. Time versus money. How many times have you sacrificed your time for the sake of money? It's not more valuable. You need to flip that in your head right now. Because amazingly, with the ability to translate your skills online, you actually make more money for less time. Online, you can make more money for less time. That's what I've been doing for the past year and a half, and I now bring in up to $10K a month in online revenue in group coaching programs and private and in passive income funnels. That's what I teach you how to do. Okay. Now, if you take space out of the equation, you can also get even more time by cutting out the commute, right, and saving dollars on rent, whatever you're spending on that space. Now, let's talk about money itself. Fact number 3. Well, to make money, yeah, guess what? You got to spend it. You probably already know that. But too often we spend our money while feeling terrible about it. We are just riddled with fear. We're worried that, oh, I made a bad decision. It was ill spent. I'm not going to make the money back on my investments. And what I see more often than not is people don't spend enough money to make as much money as they want to make good on that investment. It's the fear. It's actually a scarcity attitude that will prevent that investment from going as far as you would want it to. And I've also noticed that a lot of therapists, coaches, and healers have tremendous scarcity attitudes. And in fact, there's a benefit to that because it's probably what brought them to their work. And that's why they're so good at what they do in helping other people with their scarcity attitudes. But the point is to transform and bust through that ceiling, right? So they don't just know. Oftentimes, they don't know how much money they need to spend or to invest to make back their investment or to get the reach they want or to create the kind of career that they want. And they are super gun shy in the realms of social media and paid advertising. But guess what? If you want a steady stream of what I call soul clients, you're going to have to shift that money mindset. Okay. So in my program, The Abundant Healer, 90 Days to Scale Your Practice Online, I do teach you how to do just that. And so we also teach you, as I said before, how to launch and scale online group courses and coaching programs or establish passive income funnels if that's what you like, or a little bit of a hybrid of both. Okay. So if you're interested in learning more about abundance, clients, cash flow, all while honoring your soul purpose, you can book a consultation with me, or you can download my super sexy 9-step framework for building an abundant practice. You will find that pinned to the top of this feed, okay? And I look forward to learning more about how I can help you scale your business. I hope this has generated some thoughts and questions for you. And again, if any of these 4 woes resonate for you, the magician, the squeaky wheel, the lone wolf, the paper pusher, make sure you comment yes in the comments below so we can start to understand how pervasive this is and start to really uplift each other as a community here. So if this is the first live stream you've seen, welcome to the tribe. I look forward to having you, and you guys are going to be seeing a lot more of me this month and next month as we step into our early bird enrollment period at the beginning of April, and we continue to do our launch for the next 90-day cycle and intensive. So I hope you all have a great day. I'm going to catch you later on Thursday.